Good morning, good afternoon, good night. The third topic of the second class, observations. Well, this is the list of topics. I think by now you must be familiar with it. Observations. What is that? Well, Saunders, Lewis and Thornhill define it as systematic observing, recording, description, analysis and interpretation of people's behavior. So keyword, people's behavior. And Cooper and Schindler, the full range of monitoring behavioral and non-behavioral activities and conditions, including record analysis, nonverbal analysis, linguistic analysis, extralinguistic analysis, and spatial analysis. Well, quite a mouthful, but again, behavior is important. Well, in my words, an observation is a means of data collection by way of observing, watching, use your eyes. What can you observe? Well, for instance, people first picture their behavior on the street. Do they wait for the traffic light or not? Or you can observe objects in the second occasion. What is on the beach? Plastic, slippers, etc., etc. What are the possibilities of observations? Well, you do observations when you want to know what people do and how they do it. For instance, shaving habits, you watch people shaving, how long, wet or dry. Observations can be very valuable when it comes to business. For instance, you see a picture of a razor, electric razor. It's called a shaver, Philips, huge factory in Friesland, and their advertisements were always aimed, their marketing was always aimed at men, and therefore you see a picture James Bond using a filler shave. And when they observed who are buying our razors, well, they watched in electronic stores, then they saw that 80% of the shavers is bought by women as a gift for their man. So with that information, they could change their marketing plans. And another example is that of Kellogg's. They make cereals, and they observed how people use their cereals. Completely different from what was assumed by the producer. You can conduct direct observations. You are, as an observer, you are physically present and you watch what is happening. Customer traffic through your store, return of e-waste at the waste deposit site. You observe at the supermarket which bottles are returns, direct observations. You can also apply indirect observation. You are not present, but you observe traces, for instance, analysis of click streams, or you observe on your website how many people quit internet shopping, leaving goods in the cart and to never return or to never buy. The advantages. Uh, Observations can provide a good description of what is going on in social situations. And by observing people, you become aware of behavior that people are not aware of themselves. For instance, if you ask a student, how long did you study? Well, 8 hours. Well, when you observe carefully, you will see that, oh, they think they studied 8 hours, but they checked Instagram, they ran a few TikTok clips, they were engaged in a group app, WhatsApp, and they went for a long coffee break. So 8 hours of studying, well, maybe 3 hours left. You're not aware of it yourself, but an observer will see it. Um, Observations are not dependent on language skills, therefore it's possible to observe babies, foreigners, animals. And observations are not dependent on the quality of the memory. If you ask people what television shows did you watch, I don't know anymore. Oh yes, the European Song Contest. Okay. Um, but if you observe what people watch, you get more and more reliable data. By the way, people act differently when they know they are observed. That's not an advantage, that's a fact to take into account. What are the limitations? Um, you can only observe frequently occurring behavior. And sometimes you think, well, oh, they are not sure, people are hesitate to buying cheese and they cannot make up their mind. No, you cannot retrieve motives, you can only uh, observe how much time it takes to buy a cheese. Observing is time consuming and therefore expensive, and in some cases you have to ask permission. Is it okay if I observe you? For instance, in business, when you want to apply mystery shoppers, the employees should know. You can conduct structured observations. How many male and female customers do we have? When you conduct structured observations, you have to design a form and you observe events that can be counted and expressed in statistics. When you do unstructured observations, well, you make notes and later you process them. How can you observe? Well, participant versus non-participant. If you conduct participant observations or participating observations, um, for instance, you work as an employee at the service desk because you want to know what are the questions of people and how do my colleagues deal with the questions. You can observe openly or more covered. So traffic observers in plain clothes or in uniform, and people will behave differently. Structured versus unstructured, countable versus not countable, and you can observe yourself, but you might use cameras as well. Going back to structured observations, when you observe the population of the shop well dressed, and you observe, you tick boxes, female customers or male customers, you tally. Well, you can see it on the illustration. Make a form. And what you see here as well, time slots, 2 o'clock till 10 past 2. Why time slots? Because it's so demanding and you will lose concentration. So you observe for a certain time and then you take a break. Well, the previous slide, the outcomes of the observations are expressed in graphs. Um, the same as you would do if you process the outcomes of questionnaires. Well, you can also do qualitative observations. You make notes during the event or immediately after the event, and later you analyze them. An example, you want to observe the behavior of smoking employees outside the production facilities. Well, you can note down what you see, and that can be very good research. You will write down the time they spend. What could you do as well is join the smokers and smoke yourself as well. and after that you make notes. What is happening in these smoking groups? What is it that makes it that attractive? You can use technology, eye tracking technology. This is an example of observations, how people use a website. The eye tracker projects dots on the screen, and these are later turned into a heat map, and you see the rectangle virgin sail. People don't look at it at all. They 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 ignore it. Well, that's useful information for the company because they thought this was most important. Another example of eye tracking, in this occasion, a person walking through a flower shop, gardening shop, and the observers checked what he looked at. Very useful information for the company. Well, a remark about mystery shopping, and maybe you're familiar with the television show Undercover Boss. When do you do mystery shopping? When it's relevant. If you want to know if car sellers take women seriously, well, uh, please use a female mystery shopper. Um, the mystery shopper should be believable. A customer who arrives in shabby clothes in an old Nissan and wants to buy the top Ferrari, well, that's not believable. And the mystery shopper must behave ethically. A few remarks. Observations can be extremely revealing. In your project, it could be very useful. Beware of observer's bias, that you see what you want to see. And in many cases, you could use two observers observing simultaneously and then check if they have seen the same things. Observing is time consuming and demanding. Your brain gets tired, so don't do it too long. Next year, Module 2.1, Process Optimization. There you will practice observations a lot, and in this module, if you apply observations, that might persuade your investor. Well, and then there's this bonus assignment. Oh no, time's up. Well, in that case, see you next time. Okay, bye.